Everyone, in fact, is lucky that I'm here.
So she can say what's up with that. Looking for it.
I don't know if you're on email. Hey, Chris.
Good morning, everybody.
So no one else is here yet, but I imagine when someone else shows up, we can get this rocking and rolling.
Sounds good.
Oh, there it is.
Adam, I see you're there this morning.
You are so
How's it
loud.
going?
It's
Thanks
going. I hope your meeting ended better than it started last night.
Not really.
Ugh.
Yeah, we can catch up on it. There's some obtuse folks around here. So
Well, and I can give you some insight on one of them for sure. Have a lot of experience with one of them, so
yeah, and I think it was a eye opener. I think kind of having a little meeting of the minds on how to deal with the CTF funds is important because they're kind of fixated on that. I tried to bring it back to the charter requirements, but that didn't go anywhere. So, but the CTF stuff I think really needs to be cleaned up before there's just too much chatter.
yeah.
Conservation Trust Fund money doesn't seem right going to things like
I respect all of these things.
parks. It's just kind of a weird thing. I need to know a little more of what the state has in mind for those funds. But.
Okay. Well, that's something we can look into. Would it be possible for you to collect some information for Adam and I on the CTA funds? Because I don't have much of any information on it all in terms of how that's used and what documents we have. We have recorded documents and stuff regarding it so that we can kind of look in and see what our options are.
Yes, I'll connect with Adam next week and learn a little bit more and see what we need to do.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Sarah.
Hello. Are we started?
We are not. We're waiting on one more person like you to show up.
Okay.
Are you on the road? No.
Not yet. In an hour. I'll hit the road after the dentist for the kiddos. Was there not a HS contract that we were trying to do this morning? I guess not.
There are two items on the agenda.
Salud.
I'm gonna look and see if you
Cool. I was able to celebrate the new website yesterday in the meeting because people were kind of a little up in arms about there not being a community calendar. It's like a homepage. My gosh, it's beautiful. You know?
Oh, it works if people put their events in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's currently just like BOCC meetings and a couple of community events, but obviously I don't know if people have planned always, so staff has to.
But just like being able to like tell folks who are kind of trying these other community efforts to pull in a community calendar, it's like, yo, like, maybe just use what we got here.
Oh yeah.
We can start feeding stuff. So
True.
anyways, just thank you. It looks nice and elegant.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Hi.
Are we unmuted?
I
Yes.
think we're
Okay.
unmuted. Morning.
One more.
Nope, we have quorum with two.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're posted for 8:10, so if you guys are ready, we can start.
Yeah.
Yes, we're ready. Okay. All right. We're here for a special meeting this morning, November 17th at 8:10 p.m. And we have a couple of, hopefully, I think, quick items that are kind of housekeeping. And first on our agenda, we have a discussion and consideration of the delegation of authority to the county manager by the Board of Commissioners to sign facilities use agreements, or FUAs. Oh, looks like David's trying to join at Colorado Mountain College. We've got Chris and Tim. Do you want to give us just a brief little background on this, please?
Yeah, so good morning. One of the things we're running into that creates somewhat of a bottleneck are situations with contracts that really don't involve financial obligations, but have certain provisions in them that need legal review and then approval. And instead of bogging down the commissioners' agendas with agreements such as this facilities use agreement with CMC, there's no charge for the facilities, but it has a provision in it for certain indemnification, and there might be other provisions that need to be negotiated. My request and recommendation would be to authorize County Manager Bergman to sign contracts that fall within certain authority, whether it be where there's either no financial obligation being created or it falls within a certain level of budgeted obligations and such, just so that we can more efficiently process these types of contracts. What brought this to us is that I believe, Adam, is it this weekend that there's an event? Tomorrow, yeah. And so it'd been great if we could have more quickly processed this to get it back to CMC to tee everything up for tomorrow. So that's the basis of my request. And Tim can, I guess, if you want, happy to answer questions, or Tim can talk about perhaps what his request would be for the scope of authority for signing certain contracts.
Sure. Good morning. I think for routine, not germane, but for routine things such as this, I think it would expedite, make things easier on the board and then also on staff if I had authority to sign contracts that don't have any money associated with them and then have been reviewed and approved by legal. So like this one, right? We called a special meeting so we could sign off on this, so we could have the event tomorrow at CMC.
That sounds good to me. I don't have any questions for you guys or concerns. Commissioner Fiedler, Marcella, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have anything. I think it is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, same here.
And so I would just ask for some sort of an authorization amount or something like that. If it, our procurement policy has the schedule of, what different levels of authority are. The way it reads now is that unless you delegate authority, all contracts have to come to the BOCC for final approval. But you have, the purchasing authority has certain levels of authorization for budgeted purchases. And, right now, the BOCC is required to authorize all purchases of $20,000 plus and any unbudgeted purchases of $1,000 plus. So perhaps if we could use that as a guideline for y'all to determine what level of financial authority you would like to delegate to County Manager Bergman, so that we can more efficiently, process these lower level contracts. Any thoughts?
I guess I'm just wondering if that's not, so it's beyond facility use agreements.
Well, I thought, in terms of for this one, I wasn't aware it was specific. I thought it was going to be a broader statement in there to where it was contracts such as the facilities use agreement. If you're not comfortable, if you feel that hasn't been adequately noticed, then we can certainly carry it over. But for something for y'all to be thinking about, in this instance, certainly we request your approval for him to sign off on these type of agreements with CNC, if that's what it's limited to. But otherwise, I would like for y'all to consider giving, him authority for certain level contracts.
I don't mind considering that. I mean, maybe we can do that at the next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
Fine.
Commissioner
Yeah, and
Fuller
same here. I
has-
mean, I'd like to see something like written down on paper that maybe even gets added into the procurement policy or something like that.
Okay.
We can work on that.
Yeah.
All right. If there aren't any other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion for the delegation of authority to the county manager to sign this facility use agreement for Colorado Mountain College.
Go move.
So, second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thanks.
None for me.
All right. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
All right. Second on our agenda is the discussion and consideration of a professional service agreement with Leadville Cross Country Ski Council. We've got Adam Bay, our Parks Rec and Open Space Director, and the manager to give us a little bit of background on this, but I think it probably looks a lot or very similar to what we had in place last year. But go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, and I definitely have a lifeline out to Chris on this, just because just the one that developed this PSA. So there is a request from the Leadville Cross Country Ski Council as we're in a waiting period with other discussions on the property out there. We do have a signed, approved 5-year grooming permit with Forest Service, and there is that kind of not necessarily postage stamp up there, a piece of land, but it is a parcel that is connected to the cross country ski network that originates from Mount Massive Golf Course. There's a request, as we are in a holding pattern and not doing anything until we figure out lease arrangements there with Mount Massive. There's a request to access that property through Kendrick Park to do at least some flagging of hazards and route marking on that parcel. And that kind of heads out on Lake Fork Creek. It's a lollipop loop that leads from Kendrick Park out along County Road 48 and then back to Kendrick Park. It does not get on any of the other land in question that we are discussing with other parties there. And so because we are waiting for a December 5th meeting on that, I was requesting from the board approval of this PSA that Chris helped put together to allow those operations to take place coming from Kendrick to out on that Forest Service parcel. And my intent would be to be with the ski council on those kind of tours to kind of do the initial marking on that property, just to kind of make sure we're doing things the right way. So the details of the PSA, I don't know if Chris, there's something that needed to be highlighted there.
Sure. Yeah. One thing I wanted to note that a provision that I added in here, because we still have not been able to finalize access to the golf course property that was used last year by the ski council and stuff for the Nordic activities. I added a provision in the PSA that essentially makes it conditioned upon confirmation of contractors or the ski council's ability to occupy the property described in the plan. Obviously, we can give them, the right to access and occupy the Forest Service property that's outside of the golf course. But right now, we don't have confirmation through, the golf course board in terms of access and occupancy of that property for Nordic. So I added that part in, and my concern wanting to get this PSA in place is just so for liability purposes and so forth, I wanted to make sure that if they started work on the Forest Service property that the county would be covered in terms of liability and such. And I don't know, Adam, has that been sent over to them? I don't see where I received a signed copy back yet.
Yeah, it's signed by Pat Mercer, and Rebecca Gardner is unfortunately out on leave, and so it was a request from Pat to say, if you don't actually need this now, it was a request to say it's signed, it's on his desk, it just hasn't been delivered back to me, and
Okay.
there has to be some form of channel with Rebecca, but it is signed.
Okay.
Thanks, and I appreciate, Adam, you guys taking all these negotiations over and that extension of the special use permit with the Forest Service. That's going to be very convenient. The only, I had a thought, and I can't quite remember, if the private ditch runs along Kendrick or not, but I'm sure you'll be kind of aware of any crossings, if any, along those kinds of facilities, for the machine not to damage.
The ditch that kind of separates Forest Service and the Kendrick and the BOCC land you're talking.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the name of that ditch is, but
I think that's the Dunn. I think it's the Dunn ditch, and I think it's I think it's the Smith's ditch.
Okay.
Unless it's part of the DeLapp, and I can't quite figure out exactly in my head where that is on the ground, in relation to the areas that you're talking about, but you'll be able to see that once you're out there.
Yeah, I will, and these are kind of existing trails, I guess, or an existing trail that they have had out there in the past. So I'm assuming that that's been looked at before, but that's again why I would like to be out there initially with the council.
Yeah, and I wouldn't assume. I mean, there are ways to mitigate, even if it does go over the disc potentially. You know, we could put some kind of surface down potentially, but if they're existing trails, then it sounds like it won't even be an issue. But I don't have any. I guess I don't have any questions for you all. So this is just the Kendrick Park area and the special use permitted area between. Okay. Forest Service in the county.
Yeah, but what I would say is this PSA will, once we get the other part negotiated and confirmed, this will serve as the county's contract with the ski council for the rest of the operation plan as well. So this goes on and gets it in place so that they can implement the operations plan that's been presented as soon as possible.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have anything additional. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just happy we're making progress on it.
I guess I had a quick question. Sorry, for not prepping more, but what activities are going to happen on this parcel before the broader access gets figured out? Is it just sort of like marking and prepping trails?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's I think kind of on the social side of things, you know, just an opportunity to kind of offer the ski council a little bit of work as membership there is kind of chomping at the bit, but you know, it's really nothing beyond marking the trail and any hazards that would exist there. I don't think there's even anything to groom at this point. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, if there's no other big questions, I'll consider an approval for the presented public service agreement with the Leadville Cross Country Ski Council.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me.
None for me.
Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Everyone.
And just make sure I saw my text this morning that in a few minutes I'll be logging on to what I expect will be a brutal day long County Attorneys Association virtual conference. But I will be checking emails and texts and stuff. So working on some other stuff while I'm listening to the session. So let me know if anything comes up you need me for.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.